welcome to Real Truth and Power Live. We may have some technical difficulties today, but we are live, so bear with us. We are taking calls. Please see the call-in number if you can. Is homosexuality being pushed in the black community? The call-in number, 8020. Again, 877-944-8020. We're going to give the family about 1 minute to call in, and we're going to start taking some calls. Is homosexuality being pushed in the black community, family? Let's talk about it. Let's give a couple of minutes. And again, you are listening and watching, hopefully, to Real Truth and Power Live as we get it in. Real Truth and Power Live, where we provide powerful content to uplift the black community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. So we're about to get it in a couple of seconds. Bear with me. The number to call in, 877-944-8020. About to start this show in 1 minute. Bear with me. And again, welcome to Real Truth and Power Live, where we provide powerful content to uplift the black community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Thank you for tuning in today, and thank you for bearing with all the technical difficulties as we get it in. We may have a little delay, but we are taking phone calls today. Is homosexuality being pushed in the black community? As you can see by a couple of the pictures, if you are watching, we have topics like Zaya Wade. You see him wearing heels. At the Grammys, there was a black person wearing a dress being pushed out there to the public, and I'm really hurt by this. The next superhero for Marvel is going to be gay and black. Let me get to the phone calls and see if we can make this happen. Let me get my first caller. Last four digits is 3184. That's 3184. Are you there, caller?
Hello.
Are you there?
I am here.
Thank you for calling
can you
Real
hear me?
Truth. I can hear you fine and dandy. Thank you for calling Real Truth and Power. I wanted to get some calls from the community and talk about this issue of homosexuality being pushed in the black community. What's your thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, exactly. I agree with it. And it goes back to those in power are trying to eliminate the black man. So how do you eliminate the black man? You cut off the seed. And when you cut the seed off, there's no reproduction. So if they can flip it and turn the black man into a homosexual when he don't like the female anymore, then that's how you destroy a generation or a race in general.
I completely, yes, I'm with you. I completely agree with you.
Okay.
definitely. Let me ask you a question because it seems to be more
Hmm.
targeted to our black males, the black male homosexualities. Now, I'm not bashing. If you're gay,
Hmm.
you're gay. But let me single
Right.
out a couple of items. For example, give me your opinion on Dwayne Wade's son. How do you feel about that? Because I feel if he did feel like he was a woman, you can keep that in house. But it seems
Hmm.
like the agenda is to push that out through the media. How do you feel about that?
Well, let me say this. I've seen certain situations, and at a certain age, not all the time, but you will be able to know if your male son is homosexual because his tendencies growing up.
Right.
And so, as my belief with Dwayne Wade's son is that he should have just, like you said, kept it in house, not made it a public spectacle of the situation, and you don't allow your 12-year-old son to make those decisions because it might be a phase he's going through.
Correct.
And so when he's not physically and mentally developed to make that rash decision. So when he gets 18, then okay, yeah, you're more at 18, you'll consider the man. You might not be mentally developed yet, but you're making more wiser decisions than when you were when you 11, 12 years old. And
Right.
that's how I feel about it, man. So Ray, he made a bad decision. If his son is who he is, but he shouldn't be leading him down that path of becoming a fully woman.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying.
I definitely got you. I definitely got you. And I want to thank you for calling our first taking phone call. You're our first actual caller. So thank you so much. And I'm going to get some other calls, my brother.
All right, you be safe, man.
Thank you.
Keep doing great work.
I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
We're taking another call. Thank you for calling Real Truth and Power. Um, Caller, last digits is 6413. Are you there?
Hey E, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on? What's your name and where you calling from?
John Moran calling from my home, Baltimore, Maryland. Orange
The
Grove, Maryland.
the Reverend. Talk to me. I'm glad you actually called into the show to give
Yeah.
somebody a religious aspect of it and someone
Mm-hmm.
that is deeply involved in the community. What are your thoughts on homosexuality? And I'm not going to discuss is it good. Well, let me say, is it correct to be gay or not? But what do you feel about the agenda of homosexuality being pushed into our community?
All right. I'm gonna answer this question twofold.
Okay.
The reason why we have homosexuality that is prevalent in our community today is because there is a crack in the foundation. There's a crack in the foundation. When I'm talking about a crack in the foundation, I'm talking about a crack in our family structure.
Okay.
That's where it all begins, in the family structure. Our family structure has no foundation. And that foundation, of course, with me is Jesus Christ.
Okay.
If you build the foundation upon Jesus Christ, then you will know that the family consists of a man and a woman. That's the bottom line. And if we have men in the lives of our children today, especially young men, you have men in their lives because a man can only teach a young man how to grow into being a man. You know, you can only teach him how to be a man. So the foundation to me has to be laid in our homes today, and our foundation is centered around the Word of God. The second point to this question is that I do believe that society is pushing it on us today. Everywhere you turn, you see the homosexual act on television today. You see men with men and women with women. So it is being pushed in that area. If you would turn back time 20, 30 years ago, we would never see that on TV.
Correct.
We would never see that on TV. Never see that on TV. And today, because it is socially acceptable, now you see it on TV. You know, it is socially acceptable, but we forget that in the eyes of God, it is an abomination. We don't tell that part of it. It is an abomination in the eyes of God. And I'm not saying that God does not love them. You know, no, I'm not saying that God doesn't love it, love it more if I would lust after a woman. That's still a sin, you know. But God wants all of his children to obey his word. You know, and God still loved them, no doubt about it. God still loved them. And at the same time, it is an abomination. Yeah.
Let me ask you before I get to my next call, and I thank all the callers for being patient. This is our first live call-in show, and I definitely appreciate you calling. As a man of the cloth, as a spiritual man, let me ask you, well, what do you do about the fact that, let's look at Dwayne Wade's son, for example. What do you say if you're counseling a parent? Because I'm not going to lie, I love my son. And if he was ever to say he's gay, it would rock my world. I'd be devastated, especially at that age. I mean, you know, I'd probably be zapping out trying to be abusive or something. I don't know what I would do if I could handle it. What do you say to that parent? Because I know he was in a tough situation. What would you say to that parent?
Well, you know, number one, I have much respect to, you know, parents that find themselves in a situation, you know, Wade and all Dwayne Wade's family and all of the parents that find themselves in a situation like that. I do respect them and I pray for them. But I will say this, is that when a child comes to a parent and say, oh, you know, mom and dad, I want to be a girl. I have those cravings, or vice versa. If it's a young lady, they want to be a boy. You can redirect that child's attention. You can start saying, no, listen, God created you as a young man. God created you as a young lady, you know. You can redirect that child's attention instead of giving in to the child's desire. You know, you can redirect that child's attention to let them see that they are male. In Wade's perspective, the child was very young. Very young, and I believe
only 12 years old.
I think it was much younger than that. You know, when he first started saying it. Yeah, it was much younger than that. And being that young, the child is impressionable. Correct. You know, and Wade could have redirected his attention, no doubt about it. I do not believe, this is me, that no one is born a homosexual. No. No one is born that way.
Now, Reverend, hold your thought. Can you hold on for a minute? I want to put you on hold for a minute. Hold on for a minute. I'm going to take another caller because I want the Reverend to respond to a couple of the callers, and that is Reverend John Morant. And if you're just tuning in, welcome to Real Truth and Power Live. We are taking calls. Feel free to call the show, 877-944-8020. The subject is homosexuality being pushed into the Black community. Taking my next caller, last four digits, 9835. 9835. Are you there, caller?
Yes. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing today? What is your opinion about homosexuality being pushed in the Black community?
I believe it's being pushed heavily, very heavily. Everywhere you turn around, it's a homosexuality on TV, everywhere. You can't walk down the street without seeing somebody gay. You can't turn on a TV. It's everywhere.
Now, let me ask you, when you say it's everywhere, do you feel as if media is pushing it, or are you, I'm assuming you're probably in your 40s, are you assuming that it's a change in the times? Which one do you think?
It's pushed in the media, and it's a change in the time, because once right now, no kids are watching is in the house more. They're not in the streets like we was, so they're not getting their information from people in the street in the world. They're getting it from media, the computers, that type of thing.
Okay. Now, do you have any kids of your own?
No,
Okay. Are you into superheroes? Are you into like the Black Panther and stuff like that?
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
how do you feel about the new Black Marvel superhero being gay and black? Because I want to specifically point this to the black community. How did you feel when you heard about that?
I felt as though, just like media, everywhere else is being pushed. They trying to put it in your face so it could be more acceptable. The more you see it, the more it becomes acceptable. So as long as you're seeing it more, it's more acceptable. So as long as they're putting it on in books, TV, media, everywhere, it's going to be acceptable. People are going to say, "Oh, it's just the norm now."
Now, what would you say if you had your child, like Dwayne Wade's child, and he says, "Hey, I am a woman inside who's not even a teenager." What would you do or say to your child to what would you even where do you think you would go with that?
First, first thing I would say is, what is a woman? What do you consider a woman? How would you consider a woman? A woman is a woman is not just is not just the physical.
Hmm.
A woman is mental as well. So how would he actually determine himself being a woman? When they say women, they thinking more so the physical.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for calling, caller, and stay safe out there, and continue with that social distancing. All right.
Bet.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too. Are you there, Reverend Morant?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
What did you feel about what that last previous caller said?
Yes, I agree with the caller that society is pushing it. It to me it appears that this is the new norm. It's the new norm now, and society. We see it everywhere. We see it everywhere. It has become the new norm. And looking at it from my Christian belief is that it's a spiritual warfare. And this is one of the tactics or one of the tricks that Satan is using to lure our young men and our young women into an abomination, into desecrating their bodies. And that it is on television.
Right.
And now it's going to the movies. How many young children go in and go to Marvel movies, the Black Panthers? I mean, my goodness, how many of them go to the movies to watch it, and they are influenced by the characters. And so, I really think that I go back to the parent.
Right.
Go to the parent. I said, one of the things that we begin to do is that we let our sons, when young men are growing up, you they be putting on your shoes and trying on your shoes and playing with doll babies. You cut that out. Even if it's innocent, you do not allow that to happen. You don't understand what that does. That allows the enemy a doorway in.
Right.
Because what Satan does is he give you a little bit, and if it's okay for your son to plait a doll baby hair, to try on your shoes, and then the thought keeps coming in. I mean, then he putting on your jewelry, then he putting on your makeup. Oh, he's just a baby. No, he's not. You have to teach them men do not do that.
Correct. I'm going to put you on hold for a quick minute, Reverend. If you could stay with us. We have Reverend John Morant. I'm going to allow him to co-host and ride this thing out with me today. I'm going to take another caller real quick. 7009, last 4 digits. 7009. Are you there, caller?
Yes, sir, Brother E. What's happening?
I'm living, brother. I'm living like a champion, 10 feet tall. My spirits are better than great, and I feel bulletproof. I forgot who I got that from, but what's your opinion on this homosexuality being pushed in the black community? What do you say about that?
Well, my opinion is on this is we got to go back to the yesterday man and men, because today's men and men don't have a true understanding of what men were back in the day. See, I can take you back in the day where you got kids today who don't know what playing football is outside in the neighborhood.
Correct.
They don't know how to play. They don't know how to see a field and say, okay, we're going to form and play baseball and have a good time. See, we don't have enough men out here that will sit down and educate and talk to young brothers, because you got to think about it. We got men that's raised with family, and then we got young men that's raised with just the moms and the grandparents and the aunts and stuff like that. So we need to go back. We need the yesterday men to maybe educate today's men, so that way we can build a platform to help today's men out. Because right now you got the video games. Kids don't play no more. I haven't seen a kid roller skate in the street. I ain't seen a kid play no football, no baseball. And I was shocked one time when I was in the neighborhood and I saw these kids playing skelly. And I just pulled over and I said, man, I was shocked to see young men playing skelly, but there was an older guy that
showing them how to play.
Showing them how to play skelly. And I was like, man, I said, can I play? Because I just want to shoot the top from 1 to 4, just to get the remembrance in my, just to feel good or something. Saying, man, what an older guy has showed me. You see what I'm saying? So I just feel as though we need more of the yesterday, man. Like the Reverend that's talking, and some of the couple of other brothers that was out there talking, that can come out and maybe help some of these young men that's lost. I'm going to call these young men lost, that's out here just going in a direction and don't understand what manhood is. Because manhood is a process. It's a stepping stone. You got to go from A to Z to become a man. You get what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that. I'm going to get the Reverend to respond on becoming a man and manhood. But before I get back to the Reverend and take my next caller, you mentioned something. I got to ask you one thing. Do you think a lot of this is just that there aren't black men in the homes? We are being good fathers, but we're not in the homes. Do you think that is an issue?
I'm going to give that a 90%. Yeah.
Okay.
Because what happened is you might have men that's out here that's trying to provide. They feel as though they got to provide for their family, so they're so busy out there. And then you might have that other man that know how to balance it, where though he goes to work and know how to come home and be a father to their son and raise them up and try to teach them to be a kid to grow up to be a young man. You know what I'm saying? Because basically you got to basically sit down and teach your kids. I'm going to use you as an example since you're the host.
Mm-hmm.
See, I watch you how you took your son, right?
Okay.
You listen to your son when your son told you, when he said, Daddy, there are certain things that he didn't want to do. Or, Daddy, I don't feel like I should go to this school no more because it's going to be a distraction to my life. So what you did was you was a father because you knew you had to be a father to provide for your family. But you also knew that you had a son that you had to raise to be a man. So you took the time out to balance your life and sit down with your son and go along with the process to teach him and guide him and show him the process, the best that you knew of from what your father had told you, or if he didn't teach you, you learned through other men so that way you can be the great man you are today. So you can watch your son today, you can say, okay, my son is a man. He might still struggle in certain things, but he's a man.
I definitely
he's a
agree.
young man.
I appreciate you calling, caller. Let me get the Reverend's response on your call. And before I get to the Reverend, hey, call in. We taking calls. 877-944-8020. That's 877-944-8020. Reverend Morant, manhood, raising a man. What do you think about that?
About it.
I lost you
When
there.
you have,
Repeat that again,
I'm,
Reverend.
I mean,
Go ahead.
there is a lack of a male presence in our homes today, no doubt about that, because men are absent, and as I stated earlier, only a male can teach a young man how to be a man and how to take care of his family, how to love, how to respect his wife. We don't show that by words. We show it by our actions, our deeds. That's how I was raised. That's how I'm a man. I saw my father taking care of his family. And so therefore my brother and I, we emulate the things that he has done. And I like the caller also mentioned mentorship, how males need to mentor these young men. No doubt about that. And homosexuality does come in when there's not a male presence. I said, but I want to mention that you do have some strong black women out here, a remnant of strong black women out here that have raised male children, and they are heterosexual straight men. You know, there's strong black women out here that had to become mother and father to pull it off. You know,
Gotcha.
and my aunt is one out of many, you know, that had to raise 3 sons. No male was there. Of course, my father mentored them from afar, but she raised 3 males, and neither one of them are homosexual. They're heterosexual. They're strong. They had children, you know, families. So it can be done. If the male presence is not there, it can be done. The task will be much greater.
Right.
It can be done. And the reason why it can be done is because the foundation, which is Jesus Christ, has to be laid in order to raise our young men in the right way. If the father or mother's absent, that foundation has to be there.
All right. Hold on for me, Reverend. I'm going to take another call, and I want to get your feedback on it. Hold on one second. I'm going to take another caller real quick. Caller, last 4 digits, 7668. Caller, 7668. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. The pleasure is all yours.
How you doing today? Let me ask you, what is your opinion on the topic, is homosexuality being pushed in the black community? Go ahead.
Wait a minute, sir. You said you asked me how was I doing, and you didn't give me a chance to answer.
All right, go ahead, brother.
I'm doing fine. Now, what's your question, sir?
Is homosexuality being pushed in the black community? What do you feel about that?
Okay. Here's I see that you have a member of the clergy and I'm not very well versed on scripture, but what I do know, it was something that my mother used to say a lot when I was a child. And it was the greatest gift, the greatest trick that the devil ever played was to convince the masses that he didn't exist. Okay, and before I answer your question, because I'm gonna have you ask me that question again.
Okay.
Now, when there's something present, and it's so prevalent that it's ridiculously obvious, and someone is trying to, or a mass is trying to convince you that it isn't present, it lets you know that it is present and there's an agenda in place. Now, when you talk about male homosexuality, you also have to talk about female homosexuality. Because a lot of times we act like they're two totally different things. Because in some men's perversion, they accept female homosexuality more than they will male homosexuality. Now, this whole agenda was started, it's not just this generation or the previous generation, it's generations ago. It goes all the way back to Susan B. Anthony with feminism. That's as far back as I'm going to take it. It goes back further, but I'll take it back to Susan B. Anthony when she started feminism. And feminism was supposed to give the white woman, make them equal to the white man. And just the white woman wasn't strong enough, so what they did was they enlisted the black woman, sort of like with civil rights. Okay. Now, when the black women got involved with the white women to get these rights, it made their movement stronger. And so there you have the white women now getting what they want, which is equality to the white man, and they left the black women holding the bag. So now you have all of these black women who are socially independent. Mm-hmm. They now have to make some allowances for these people, and men and women aren't going to stop having sex. Men and women aren't going to stop having babies. So in order to give these women their independence, they gave them public housing. And then when you go with public housing, one of the main stipulations was that you don't have a man in the house. Now, a single parent as a man is less likely to get housing than a single parent that's a woman. So now you have all of these women in these houses who can't buy, they have to sneak their men in because they're still having babies, but you have black women who basically are told that their black men cannot be allowed in the house.
Got you. Now let me ask you something real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, okay, let me ask you something real quick because I like where you were going about the feminist movement. Do you think when black women got a part of that movement and started joining that movement, that separated the black man and the black woman in the black household?
That's exactly where I was going because it started off, you had single parent homes, and then you had the creation of the strong black independent woman who's no longer in need of the black man.
Bingo.
So then you have hold on. Then you have a generation of irresponsible men. You can go back to the 20s, where it became cool to have the mother raise the child. The men are just there to procreate, and then get the devil out the way. So you have generation upon generation of irresponsible men. This didn't just start. And as far as with boys, I mean, I'm a teacher, and sometimes if you take a hard stance, you are ostracized. So if I take a hard stance and say that homosexuality is terrible, then I'm ostracized from my community, and I'm labeled by this fictitious term called homophobic. Phobia, is a fear. I'm not scared of homosexuals, but then you have what's called it's called social bullying. Social bullying is nothing but ostracizing someone from the community and putting sanctions on them when all they do is speak what's clearly evident, that there is an agenda being pushed to emasculate young men. And black men have done a horrible job of representing themselves. So you have the growth of the strong black independent woman, but what the strong black independent woman has to step on the man in order for them to get what they want. And I mean, it's a case of a dog-eat-dog world. Then you have these young men, the strong black independent woman. They may be the greatest parent ever, but it is impossible for a woman to raise a boy into a man and give them all of the things that they need. They may turn out to be heterosexual, a pillar in their society. They could do a lot of great things, but they're going to be missing something, and they're going to adapt the trait that's being pushed on them. The woman is not trying to do this, but it's in them to be emotional. Right now, we have a bunch of socially, emotionally retarded young men.
Yes.
And when I say retarded, I'm not saying it like I'm trying to down them. What I'm saying is that they have an inability to grow. They've gone as far as they can because they are missing what should have been in their life, which was a strong black man. And we can go into they say the children coming from single black households are less like, or at least are the most likely to commit crimes and to be all of these to basically to be derelicts of society.
Mm-hmm.
But that statistic is egregiously skewed. It's children coming from single households where a father is not present. Because when you have the children who come from a single household where the father is the parent, those children are less likely to behave the way that the children who have mothers as the leaders of the household. It's too much for a woman. It's too much for a man. But those children are less likely to do some of the heinous things that some of those young people who come from single parent homes where the mother is the present one. And again, I am not downing black women because black women are doing what they have to do. This thing is generational. They don't even know that they are downing black men. They're just going about their life. And you'll see that those black women now turn to white men because black men no longer have anything to offer them. This thing is like an onion with many layers.
I got one more question for you. It might be a twofold question,
Brother,
but
you can ask me as many questions as you want because I got all the answers.
The question is, and I want you to be easy with it. And I know you, so
I'm going to give it to you straight.
Your sons come to you about 11 to 12 and say,
You
"Hey,
already know that.
I'm a
You
woman
can stop
inside."
right there.
Well, let the
Go ahead,
people
I'm
know.
sorry.
Let the people know. What do you do? What do you
Ask your
say? How do you react?
I'm sorry, start over so there's no misunderstandings. Ask me the question again, please. I want to make sure I get all of the details of your question.
You have a son. Your son comes to you and says, "Dad, I'm a woman inside." He's about 11, 12 years old. I want to change my name. I want to be proud about this. I am a woman. I've been acting like this and feeling like this for a long time. What do you say to him?
Okay, first, that conversation wouldn't happen with me and my son because I was raised by a man, and I'm gonna handle problems when they were younger. If one of my children had been behaving the way a young man should not behave, like some people are gonna say, well, how does a baby supposed to? I believe in gender identity. I draw hard lines. My children knew they know how I operate. My father said it, and I live in the same house that my father's now deceased, and I live in the same house with my father, and those rules stay consistent. No sissies in the house. If I hurt somebody's feelings, that's too bad.
Whoa, easy.
No sissies in the house. I said that at the funeral. In the church. Okay. But so if someone so what you're saying is first off, that conversation wouldn't happen in my house. Second, my children know how I operate. If that's how you want to do, that's your business. I'm not going to hate you for being homosexual. But what I will not do is accept your behaviors in my presence.
I want to thank
you. So
you
and your
calling.
boyfriend, no, I'm not finished. You and your boyfriend going to have to go somewhere else. But when you come to my house, you're going to wear some pants. The boys are going to wear pants and the girls are going to wear skirts and dress pants. We're going to have some gender identities up in this spot.
So you will allow your son to bring another male friend into your
No,
home.
no, 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 no. Not if I know. If I know your significant other, I understand that you love them, and I don't hate this person for what they do, but I do not have to allow that energy in my space. You're going to have to go about and do your own thing wherever it is, but you will not force that energy in my space. No, I know better.
Well, I want to thank you for calling, caller. I better get you off before you say something that'll get me banned from Facebook and YouTube. But I definitely appreciate you calling. Please call again. We're going to be doing a lot of shows, and I definitely value your input as a black male given to the community. Thank you again, my brother.
Thank you.
Reverend, that was an emotional call. What do you feel about some of the things the caller was saying? Especially, let me ask you this, Reverend. What he said about what he would not tolerate in his home. Was he overboard with that?
No, well, first I'm going to just say the caller had a lot of meat, and I really enjoyed that. His discussion, he had a lot of meat, he had a lot of things to say. And a lot of good things, excellent caller. I agree with him. That is his house, and he is the king of his house, king of his castle, and he lays down the ground rules. I would not allow it in my home. I would not allow it in my home. It would not be permitted. I don't want to see it. And therefore, my son has two choices. He stays, abide, or he leaves, and he goes.
Now, when you say that, Reverend, and this is Reverend John Morant we're talking to, when you say that, what you will not allow in your home,
yeah.
What do you do if he says, I have to leave? This is who I am. Because I believe, well, I don't know. And that could be an issue with Dwayne Wade's son, not him being an NBA player, not being there all the time, I heard he had a male nanny. Now, I'm not sure if this is true or not. This is what I heard. And things of that nature. So he was exposed and probably around a lot of women, Gabrielle or whoever. If your son says, this is the way I'm going to live, I'm going to leave, and I'm saying if he's a teenager or a young male, how would that affect your heart? Are you saying you would not in any way break down and say, let's try to work something out? Would you keep a relationship with him? And the reason, before you respond, the reason I'm saying that is because with all the movements going on and the gay pride, people are really fighting to be what they feel is correct. What do you do? Do you lose your relationship with your son?
Well, number one, the caller said something definitive. He said that while you're around me, I don't want to see those tendencies. If you can respect that, but if you force my hand and you want to act accordingly to how you feel and embrace the homosexual conduct, then you have to leave.
So what you're saying is,
you have to leave.
I love you. You can be yourself, but respect me and don't put it around you.
Exactly. It will hurt me to my heart, but like your friend, your significant other, whatever you call him, he's not welcome here.
Right. Well, hold on, Reverend. I'm going to keep you on hold. Keep your train of thought. I'm going to keep you on hold. Let me get my next caller in. Caller 9157. Caller 9151. I apologize. Caller 9151. Hold on one second. Let me try to bring you in. Are you there, caller?
Good brother.
What's going on with you?
I'm here.
Talk to me. What do you feel about homosexuality being pushed in the black community?
Well, one, let's make a distinction, right? There's a distinction between homosexuality and the effeminization and or attack on Black masculinity. Those
Yes.
are two separate conversations that sometimes get they get crossed, like or there's some intersectionality there, if we can use that word. I probably shouldn't use that term.
No, go ahead.
However,
That's a good one.
so those are separate conversations,
Okay.
right? So a few things. We're really talking about Black manhood, right? We're talking about the conversation within the context of Black manhood. And there have been some opinions spewed, and I would like to deal in fact. Number one, the myth of the absentee Black father. That is a myth that's been pushed. You talk about things being pushed in our community. There is scholarship that suggests that Black men are in the homes and in the lives of their children more than any other ethnic group. That is fact. That is scientifically proven. That is not opinion. Are there some young brothers and sisters out there growing up without their father? Sure. But your father, strong Black man, was in the household. The good Reverend's father, strong Black man, was in the household. My father, strong Black man, was in the household. And we can go down the list. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Right. So there is a concerted effort to remove the Black man from the household. There's a concerted effort, and by concerted, I mean systemic, structural racism and white supremacy, to dismantle the Black family, right? Because we know the Black family in and of itself is the foundation of the Black community, which is the foundation of our movement, whatever our movement is. It starts with family, then community, then nation. We talk about nation building. So all of those things come into play. But this draconian, old way of thinking about manhood and masculinity has to die in order for if our community is going to have any opportunity to survive. And I don't know that it will. I don't even know if there is a Black community anymore. But we have to peel away. We have to evolve like other communities have evolved. And some of that might mean taking another look at and reassessing some of our religious beliefs and our educational practices. I was raised by mostly men. You were raised by strong men. They loved us and taught us what they knew and did the best they could and did an excellent job. That doesn't mean that we can't evolve. In 2017, I got a grant to co-author and co-found the Black Manhood and Masculinity Initiative with a brother, world-renowned spoken word artist, Kenneth Morrison from Park Heights, who was an openly gay Black man who considers himself gender non-conforming, right? We are in a new time. I learned so much from partnering with that brother. You know, we're cut from the same cloth. I had some of the same views as some of your earlier callers, some of the same perspectives as a good rapper growing up. But until I was educated and evolved as a human being, I come to understand there's a difference between sex and gender. And let me ask a few questions. We're talking about manhood. One, and I do this with my students. I'm an educator.
Okay.
List the things that make a man, right? So if I were to ask you and the Reverend to list the things that make a man, give me your top 5 things.
Well, it's funny you said that because some of my top things would not involve sexuality. It would involve taking care of my family, protecting the Black woman, things of that nature. So I do like where you're going at with that. I do like that. But continue. Go on.
So we're talking about, first thing come to mind is being a provider, being a protector, being a teacher, right? Maybe not the first teacher, because historically, culturally speaking, the Black woman is the first teacher and nurturer, historically speaking. But you're talking about teacher, nurturer, provider, all of those things we name, all the things my students name. Then I asked them, I said, can a woman do these things? Does this separate what we consider to be man from woman? And they said no. Exactly. So then you begin to reassess and come and develop a deeper understanding of what it means to be a man and a woman, and the difference between manhood and womanhood, and how those things aren't necessarily tied to gender. There's a difference between gender and sex. Sex is what you're born with physically. Gender That's spiritual concepts. Since you're talking about talking to a reverend, those are spiritual principles that represent the polar opposite, so to speak, right? So
Right, I'm with you.
I take it that so the reverend is not Catholic. The reverend is probably a Protestant reverend, correct?
Correct. In fact, hold on, brother.
So
I'm gonna
if you
bring the
know,
Reverend in. I'm gonna bring the
go
Reverend in
ahead,
so y'all can vibe. Reverend
bring the good
Moran,
brother
are
in.
you there?
Yes. I'm glad you brought me in
Yes.
because I
Go.
do have some questions.
Yes. Go ahead, caller, and
Now,
I'm gonna let you guys
I,
vibe. Go ahead, caller.
I am
Okay.
I am a Protestant. You know, I'm a Protestant. You guessed that right. I'm not a Catholic. I'm a Baptist preacher. So you right on point.
Let me tell you how I know that, though. Let me tell you how I know.
Okay.
Because if you know the history of the Baptist, the evolution of Baptists and the evolution of Protestantism, you know that what they did when Protestants separated from the Catholic Church, they removed Mary. They removed what can be considered idolatry, what could be considered the Holy Feminine. What they actually did was remove all the things that Catholicism adopted from traditional African culture. Because Catholicism
is the one that started it. Yeah.
Absolutely. But Catholicism is simply whitewashed African spiritualism, spiritual system, a whitewashed African spiritualism. That's what Catholicism is. So Protestantism removed all the things that made Catholicism African. And it removed the woman. Mary represents the Holy Feminine. So what happens is they created a patriarchal system of worship. Within that system of worship is God, man, woman, child. Am I correct?
And you're talking about Catholicism, right?
No, I am not. I'm talking about anything that falls under the Protestant umbrella. Removed everything that was African about Catholicism, including the exaltation of Mary.
Okay, you're talking about the exaltation of Mary. Now, from my perspective, and we may be getting off the topic, from my perspective, when you talk about Protestant removed away from Catholicism, I look at it from a theological standpoint. Martin Luther started it when he broke away from Catholicism, was that no man could be justified by deeds, but could be only justified by faith. And he broke away from the church, the Catholic Church, because they believed that you could be justified by penance, things that you do in order to be accepted to God. But he realized, reading the Word of God, that you're justified by faith, regardless of.
Let's stay on topic. Let's stay on topic. Let's stay on topic. We talking about masculinity and femininity.
Yeah.
We talking about masculinity and femininity. No, you did not answer my question.
About masculinity and feminism. The question I had was that you mentioned gender. You mentioned gender. Right. You said gender was spiritual. Right. What did you mean by that?
Yes. So there are 7 Kemetic spiritual principles. There are actually more, but what's predominantly known are the 7 Hermetic principles, right? Gender being one of them. There's a law of correspondence. There's 7 basic principles that govern the universe, right? Gender being one of them. That's masculinity and femininity. That has nothing to do with male or female. That is simply let me break it down to its least common denominator. Birds and bees, right? When came up, they say, "Oh, did you teach your children about the birds and the bees?" They're talking about pollination. They're talking about what is needed to happen to bring forth life. That's all that is. It has nothing to do with what tools you are, what sexual organs you are born with. That's about positive, negative energy. It's about the universe always seeking to balance itself. Now, these are things that people don't talk about. All pastors and all reverends know this. It's in your your teachings.
Well, wait a minute. Let's back up. Now, you talking about gender? That definition that you just gave, that's based upon what doctrine? What 7 principles?
I just told you the 7 Hermetic principles. Hold on.
But where's that doctrine from? Who gave birth to that doctrine?
I'm about to tell you. The 7 Hermetic principles, which came into existence 3,000 years before anything written in the Bible.
Okay, but who's the author of it?
See, you tell me who's the author of your Bible.
Okay, well, God is the author of my Bible.
Oh, so God
All
sat
scriptures
down
given by
with
the
a pen.
inspiration of
So
God.
wait.
All
So
scriptures
God
given by
sat down with a
inspiration of
pen.
God.
Okay, I got you. So God sat down with a pen
As the
and wrote the
Spirit of
Bible.
God moved upon men, men began to write as they were spiritually inspired by God. But
When was it written?
that's what I believe, and no one's going to change that.
Well, hold on,
So
I got
Reverend.
you. We're not talking about your belief. Okay, we're not talking about belief. We're not talking about belief.
Hold
But
on,
that's
Reverend
not
Caller.
talking
Hold
about-
on. Hold on, Reverend
back to the
Caller.
agenda.
Caller, let me ask you this. Because I want to stay a little close to where everybody can relate.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because you said something. Let's change that from homosexuality. Then, do you feel that media is pushing homosexuality to destroy manhood in the black home? Would you say that?
Okay, so excellent point. So we all came up in the hip hop generation, right?
Correct.
So we have seen and witnessed how hip hop has changed. We've seen it. It's happened in our lifetime. It's happened under our watch. We are in our we're around 50 or in our early 50s, right? Moving to our mid 50s maybe. So we watched it happen. Like I stated before, there is a deliberate attempt to undermine the black man. We know that. That is, look, a caller earlier stated it. He put it out there. And he brought up, he at least laid the groundwork for the difference between a conversation about homosexuality and a conversation about the war on the black man and black manhood. Those aren't necessarily the same, because you can be a homosexual and be a black man. James
Correct.
Baldwin was a homosexual,
Correct.
right?
And he's a
They
strong,
arrested
positive black
homosexuals.
role model. I'll give you that.
Absolutely. You understand what I'm saying? So this notion that being gay makes you less of a man, it's time to move beyond that. That's foolish. That's not foolish. That's child's play. And this whole notion that if my son told me he was gay, look, I get it. I understand. We come from the same cloth. When my son come twirling out the back room talking about Nana said he could do ballet with my daughter, I had the same feeling at that time. I've since evolved. That's what I'm trying to communicate. I'm not saying people are wrong for thinking what they think. I'm saying it's time to educate ourselves and evolve the way other groups of people have evolved, because if we don't, we will continue to fall further behind as a people. That's what I'm saying. And let me be clear. I'm not attempting to demean or degrade anybody's belief system. Belief plays a role. Mythology, history, all those things play a role in the development of people. But I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about society, realistic things that we're going to need as a black community to move forward if we're going to exist, if we're going to continue to exist.
Now, hold on, caller.
Believe what you want to believe.
Now, hold on, caller. Before I let let the Reverend respond back, let me ask you this, though. Because as you said, we evolved. The media and the way it's being pushed, do you feel they evolved? The reason I'm asking you this is there an agenda to push it in our community, though? Do you feel that that's an agenda because our mindset isn't evolved?
So, again, when you say agenda, right, agenda to push it in our community, I would say I'm an artist, right?
Okay.
There will be, okay, I'm also a school teacher. It could be argued that certain individuals who pose less of a threat to the white male ego are allowed or are given more privilege. It's easier for them to rise to the top, or they are held or put out in front of us as an example of what you should be. That goes back to the plantation, right? On the plantation, they took the toughest, hardest, strongest buck, and they beat him within the inch of his life in front of all the other slaves to try to scare the other black men and even the impregnated black women, to scare them into submissiveness. So there is this illusion of submissiveness, right? And that goes along with the feminization of black men. There's an illusion. But like I said before, some of our strongest brothers in the movement or homosexual. Now, real quick, there's a difference between homosexuality and transgender folks. But because we have not yet as a society evolved and developed the full language and understanding of what it means to be transgender, we lump homosexuals and transgender folks together, and they're not the same. That's two different conversations. So if a 12-year-old boy says, I feel like I'm a woman, let me ask you and your caller, at what age did you know you were a man or a boy? At what age did you come into consciousness and say, I'm a boy?
All right. So there's several things.
And hold on, I'm gonna let
right.
you.
We can't even answer the question. You can't even answer the question.
I
would say maybe
always
2
remember
or
being
3.
a boy. I don't know.
Right.
But
right. So how can we say that at 12 someone doesn't know who they are? How can we say that?
I got you. Now I'm gonna let the
if we don't ever remember being. Go ahead.
I was gonna let the Reverend go in real quick. Hold on one second. Go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead, Rev.
Thank you. I keep hearing this term evolve. We keep saying we need to evolve. Adapt to it, change our way of thinking when it comes to homosexuality, when it comes to transgender. As far as where I go with it, where I'm at in my mind and in my thinking is that, and because I am a reverend, I have to base everything on the Word of God that governs my life. If the Bible doesn't evolve to it, then neither do I. God is certain what He speaks against homosexuality and what He speaks against transgender. It is certain, and if God does not change, neither do I on those topics. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. A transgender person wants to be something different, totally different than what God has made them, and God does not make mistakes. God made Adam a male, and a gender, by definition, is two sexes.
Hold on, caller. Hold on.
Two sexes, either male or female. That's a gender definition. You can be either male or female.
That's not gender. That is sex. That's not the same.
Then that's your opinion.
That is not gender. That's not my opinion. That is science.
Let me finish.
That is not an opinion.
Let him finish, caller. Let him finish, and then I'll let you get the last word.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion, and I respect that, and no one's going to change that. Now, transgender and homosexuality, they're both wrong. They're both wrong in the eyes of God. They are both totally wrong. Homosexuality is an abomination, period. Hands down. Hands down. Transgender is similar.
Now hold on, Reverend. Before I let the caller get the last word, you said a big word, the abomination word. Let the listeners know what you mean when you say that.
When you're talking about an abomination, something that is detestable, something that is damnation, when you think about an abomination.
So let me ask you, I'm sorry, caller, before I let you go in, let me ask you this, and then, caller, I'm going to give you the last word. There's a lot of homosexuals in the church. How does the church, go on with that? Explain that then for me.
Yeah. The church's perspective. Now, when you're talking about the church, now, there's a difference between the universal church and the local assembly. Now, I'm going to make that clear. The church, universal church, and that is a baptized or believes in Jesus Christ, are totally against it. Now, you have some local assemblies that accept it. Now, you have to talk to that pastor and ask that pastor a question why he accepts it, why he puts them in leadership. But that doesn't happen at our church. We don't do that. See, there's a difference.
I'm about to say the wrong word. Are homosexuals allowed into your church?
Oh, absolutely. Anyone's allowed.
Okay.
People could come in. Anybody's allowed.
That's hypocrisy. That is you being a hypocrite right now.
Well,
let me just ask these two questions, man.
Listen,
before your
I'm
time.
not Ed.
Hold on, Pastor Moran. Hold on, Pastor Reverend Moran. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. All right, caller. I'm gonna let you get the last word. I don't want it to get too personal. I'm gonna let you get the last word, but
Listen,
give the people, your perspective and finish it up for me.
let's do this. Again, he said that was my opinion. There's a difference between opinion and science, right? Two things. All you got to do is answer these two questions. One, you refer to God as a man. How do you know that? That's number one. Number two, where in the Bible does it say being transgender is an abomination? It doesn't say it. That is a lie. That is a bold-faced lie that you push into people that continue to other members of your community. And you're a hypocrite if you say everybody's welcome to my church, but you are an abomination. That is being a hypocrite. And you are othering people, and you're really pushing white supremacy in your church. That's what you're doing. Because everything you pushing was given to you by your slave master. There's nothing African about anything that you're pushing. Nothing. You are hurting people with your theology.
Right.
Now, answer the question. How you know God is a man, one, and two, where in the Bible does it say being transgender is an abomination? It doesn't say it. You will never find it.
All right, let me let the
Answer
Reverend
those
respond. Colin, I want to thank you so much for calling our first live show, and thank you so much for your passion and your knowledge. And please call
And
back.
tell him he do know me. And tell him he does know me too.
Oh Lord! All right, all right. Reverend, let me get you back in, Rev. That got a little emotional, and I want to keep everything on topic. Hold on one second, Reverend. Here we go. And I want to keep everything on topic. And I don't think the caller meant to get personal, but as you know, and as we see in our community, this is a very touchy topic. This topic is touchy, and I'm glad we are getting passionate about it. Before I get the next call, Reverend, I just want you to get a chance to respond because it did get a little personal, and I want to make sure you get a chance to respond to that.
You know, number one, what I stated, and I said homosexual is an abomination, and that's scripture. And I said transgender is similar. It's similar. I never stated that transgender is a homosexual. I said homosexual is an abomination, not transgender. They're similar. They're similar. You are taking what God has created, and you're changing it. God doesn't make mistakes. If God created you to be a male, then you're male. If He created you to be a female, then that's what God has created you to be. Why change that? He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make mistakes. God doesn't make mistakes. And it's so simple. I'm going to tell you something. In the book of Genesis, the 19th chapter, when Sodom and Gomorrah, God was going to destroy Gomorrah. And Lot, in this verse 5, and these men said, we were the men that came to your house last night. Let us come out that we may know them. And that's in verse 5 of Genesis 19:5. Let us come out that we may know them. To know them means that let's have intimate relationship with them. That's an abomination. God did not, regardless of evolving, not evolving.
Hold on one second, Rev. I'm going to take one more call. Let me take one more call. Hold on one second. Call, are you there? 0348. Call, are you there? Call, are you there? We might have lost the caller. Hold on one second, Reverend. Let me see if I can bring him back.
Yes,
caller,
sir.
are you there?
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead,
Yes,
caller.
sir.
We are talking, is homosexuality being pushed in the Black community? And as you saw, it's a very heated and touchy topic. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on that is, I mean, for me personally, I'm not really comfortable with it because I think it really takes away from, it affects the household, man, and how things were, how we were raised. You know what I mean? Male and female raising kids, and now like every time you turn around, man, it's something. And no matter what television show it's on, they're really like forcing it on us. Like I don't have a problem with the gay community. I just don't like it being broadcasted and forced upon the community and especially on the kids, you know what I mean, that are raised up in heterosexual households. Like I understand respecting them, but I
Would
think
you
that we're
consider
really
yourself
confusing our.
homophobic, Carla? Would do you could hang out with a
No, I wouldn't
homosexual?
consider my. I have. I'm not even gonna say I wouldn't. I have, but I mean, there's limitations. Like we're gonna go certain places where it's like a bar or something, but not. I'm not. You wouldn't see me in their community, like in their community setting. No.
I got you. So you don't have a problem with it, but you do feel that they are pushing it in our community. What do you think that is the reason? Do you think there's some kind of conspiracy reason? Is it that we're just not on it as black men? Or like the previous caller said, it's we have to evolve a little bit and not stress it as much.
Um, I think it's I think it's more of an acceptance thing. You know what I mean? I feel that we do need to evolve as a people, as far as because in a way, if you look at it, if you're homophobic, it's really no different than me than racism. You know what I mean? Like we're hating a person for who they are, um, instead of their quality of work, maybe their character. We create a bias. So I think they're pushing acceptance. But the thing is, I get the acceptance because if you look at the crimes and stuff behind like homosexuality, like that big shooting that happened in Orlando, I believe it was in Orlando, that mass shooting, that was a terrorist act.
Right.
Like it should never go that far. Like it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be hating them for it. But I get the acceptance part, but I don't like how they're broadcasting and forcing us. Like it's like really being forced instead of just letting people come into it. You know what I mean, on their own. Like, okay, you see a lot of your actors, your actresses, your top people, congressmen, so forth, so forth. A lot of people that have a voice, they're in that community. Okay, we accept them, but it doesn't need to be smacked in our faces. You know what I mean? Like, we know you're here, and it should just be left like that. I mean, but honestly, if you look at it, the same way they're pushing this is the same way they started pushing back in the day interracial relationships. At one point in time, interracial relationships were forbidden.
Correct.
A black man and a white woman, or a white man and a black woman could not be together. And then you start having movies like what was it, Jungle Fever, that put it out there. So I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It's just, hey, you just maybe got to tone it down and just let the people come into it, and everything will be cool.
Let me ask you this before I let you go and get the Reverend to respond and give him a chance to get out of here. Do you have a son or a daughter?
Yes, I have two girls.
Two girls. What are their ages?
17 and 2.
Okay, so let's take the 17 and the 2 and put them as one and say your daughter is 11 and she says, Dad, I'm into girls. I love girls. I believe I'm a lesbian. And it may hit you a little differently because you're a male, but what do you say to her? Do you say you're too young? You got time to figure it out? Do you condemn her? What would you do? How would you feel?
It's kind of hard to say because I actually had this conversation with a coworker that is she's lesbian, and she was telling me how she was at a young age and how she just knew automatically that she liked girls. She didn't have any attraction to boys, and to this day now she is in her 50s. She's strictly lesbian. The way it is, like, I would like to know the science behind it. If it is, like, what triggers that in a person to say, hey, I'm lesbian, I'm gay, or whatever. But for her, it would just be something I would have to watch and see exactly how it will play out. And plus she's 11 years old, so I think even at that age, man, you like what you like. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of coming into what you like for real, man. Like hell, you might if you like Frosted Flakes, you like Frosted Flakes. You know what I mean? You might
Now
not
let
like
me
cornflakes.
now let me
Yeah.
ask you this. Let me ask you this. Say she wants a sex change. I heard there was rumors that D
Dwayne
Wade's
Wade's
son
son.
had a um wanted to have a sex change. I'm sorry. And
Right. Right.
um
Yeah.
would you even entertain that? Would you entertain that, or would you be
At that
like,
age that he is,
yes?
no. At that age that he is, no, we're not going that far. If that'll be something that he would have to be an adult and do on his own. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm accepting that this is who you are, but I don't think I'm going to fully go that far and participate in my support, and give him a sex change, especially at that age. Nah, when you get older, if that's something that you take your time with that's what I would encourage him, man. Look, take your time with it, because once you do that, it ain't no going back. I don't think so. Nah, I wouldn't support that part, nor would I encourage it. Like, nah, you gotta slow up on that.
All right. Caller, that was an intelligent phone call. I want to thank you for your passion calling the Real Truth and Power Live. And please, we're going to have a lot of shows, and I'd love for you to call again, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much again for calling. Reverend Morant, it got a little heated on one of those calls, but what I want you to do is respond to the last caller, and what do you feel about and I don't want to say this is fact or not, but what do you feel about the last caller wanting to have D Wade's son mentioning maybe having a sex change? What would you say about that? You there, Reverend? Okay, we might have lost Reverend Morant. We might have lost Reverend Morant. Hold on one second. Hello, are you there? Hold on one second. Let me just make sure. Hello, are you there? All right. So, man, what a powerful show. What a powerful show. I'm going to end it here. It got a little personal, but that's okay when we're talking about a powerful topic. And I think one of the things that we saw is that we are on the same thing. It's about black males unifying. And we are trying to, get ourselves together as a community. And these topics need to be discussed. These topics need to be discussed. They need to be brought out in front of our community. And it is very important. It's very important because, we are behind. And in order for us to come to the table with other races, we got to fix some things within ourselves first. We had a lot of topics on about black businesses, and we had a lot of things talking about the black dollar and how it circulates in our community. And we're going to talk more about the black family. I think that's very important. In fact, that may be our next show. The issues with the black community. How can we make the black family? How can we make the black family stronger? These are very important topics. And, I just want to thank everybody for, calling in. I'm going to just check. We may have one more caller. Hold on one second. Caller, are you there? Hello, caller. All right, so that seems to be our last call of the day. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, making this show another emotional but powerful show. We got a lot of stuff coming out. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can share. Again, if you're on Facebook, please hit that like button. Let's do that right now. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button. 1, 2, 3. All right. Please share it. Let's get the information out. 1, 2, 3. Everybody hit that share button. If you're on YouTube, you should have already hit that like button, but hit the like. And on the count of 3, I want everyone to hit the subscribe button. That's 1, 2, 3, subscribe. And again, thank you again for calling, for all of my callers. We're going to do this again. And thank you for listening to the Real Truth and Power Live podcast. Again, an emotional show, but I believe it's a needed show. I believe that we grew together as a community by talking about some of these tough topics, and we'll be having some more. I have another show coming up soon. I'm going to talk to you about a couple of shows. One show, I'm going to have DJ J Prime, and he made a statement. I see why black businesses fail. And it got emotional on social media. We're going to bring him in when he has time, and he's going to comment a little bit about his statement. I'll just say, whoever he was dealing with, that doesn't mean that all black businesses are that way because of her. It's a stereotype about black businesses, and we need to get rid of that. But also, there was a lot of people saying, run, get out of here, run from the black business. I don't blame you. You right. And I'm a black business. And we're all going through some hard times right now. A lot of businesses are being shut down and everything because of the virus. So, that's going to be an upcoming show. I'm trying to get Ernest Shaw, world-renowned artist. I want to talk about art in the black community. Is it being pushed enough? And I think we need to have maybe some better programs outside of school. So hopefully we can talk about that. And shout out to Reverend John Morant. He gave us the religious aspect of the show. And it got a little emotional, but the Reverend kept his composure, and I thought he did a phenomenal job. And we want to get the Reverend back at a later date to talk about some other topics. And thank you again for all the callers. Remember, this is why we're doing it, for health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Go to realtruthandpower.org, get your t-shirts, promote a brand that's conscious, and I'm out of here, man. I want to thank everybody again for tuning in. We did it. Our first live show. Hopefully it came out all right, but we'll get rid of some technical difficulties and we'll come back and we'll even do it better. Voice your opinion. Thank you for calling. Real Truth and Power Live, where we provide health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Thank you, man. I love y'all. I love black people, and thank you for tuning in. Hotel. Thank you again. Thank you for tuning into Real Truth and Power Live. Provide powerful content to uplift the black community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. What another phenomenal show. Please like and share. And again, thanks for calling. Hold tell.